one thing my mom used to always say as a kid growing up, work for the best, hope for the best, pray for the best, but be prepared for the worst.
What's the ideal stage when I should go out and raise capital, and what should I keep in mind?
My suggestion usually is raise when you can, not when you can.
What is the first thought that comes to your mind when you think of insurance and things like that?
So insurance for me is that peaceful sleep at night.
Hi everyone, we're back with another podcast, and we had been hearing a lot that all the Inka podcasts till now have never had a female guest. So we have made sure we have one. We have Sonali in the house, and Sonali and I go back around 9 to 10 years roughly. And otherwise, she also belongs to my hometown, Jodhpur. But she's in the house, and let's start the meaningful discussion. Hi Sonali, thank you for coming.
Hi Vaibhav, thanks for having me here.
Oh, I actually forgot to give a very important introduction. She is a CA, she is an ICWA rank holder, but the most important thing which I wanted to highlight is the fact that she has done all her courses in one go. There are so many jokes which keep on happening that CA hai to matlab you can't do it in first attempt and things like that, but she is a first attempt person, although she could not attend our first round of podcasts. So there I would say
I missed the bus.
You missed the bus, and now we have kind of a thing. But thank you for being the first woman on our channel.
I maintained my trajectory of being first off, but no, thank you so much. Jokes aside, it's a pleasure to have me here. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So generally for everyone else, I don't carry anything, but I've made some notes because it needs to be, I need to be very particular on what I am asking. And she led a lot of other things when I was part of HDFC. So Sonali, a lot of founder friends of mine ask me questions which I don't have answer for. Barring the fact what insurance cover is needed, I can answer. But when it comes to raising capital, when it comes to how much should I raise, how much should I dilute, what's the right stage when one should raise, and a lot of these questions, so we'll go step by step.
Sure.
So first thing, if I'm starting and I'm a first time founder, what's the ideal stage when I should go out and raise capital, and what should I keep in mind?
So I think you've asked a couple of questions, Vaibhav, and there are multiple ways of looking at it.
Sure.
First and foremost, I need to highlight there is no right or wrong answer.
Okay.
It is almost always to each its own.
Sure.
You can't take a cookie cutter solution, and unfortunately in today's world, well, it's fortunate and unfortunate, there's no dearth of resources. There's enough and more material, reels, content available online to get you biased. It is important to understand you should not be copying or following exactly same footsteps as something someone else has done, because what worked for them may or may not work for you.
Correct.
You need to understand there's a pros and cons like everything else in life to each decision you make. I have worked across, and I've been fortunate to work across some of the best founders and great people, and it's been a great journey, learning journey for myself, as well as I believe adding value to those situations, circumstances, people has been my kind of key mantra. What I have realized is a couple of things, again with the caveat that to each its own.
Correct.
But you should primarily be very practical about when to raise. Most importantly, how much to raise.
Yes.
Don't have a short-term thinking. It may sound like a short-term pain, but a long-term gain. Don't just think about the valuation for the current round and the dilution. Look at the broader implications. Raise way more than what you anticipate will be required. Because believe me, Excel extrapolations and calculations cannot predict anywhere close to reality.
Correct.
If that would have been the case, then the scenario, the market stats would have been very different. So, one, plan for raising way more than what you anticipate. Worst case scenarios. While, one thing my mom used to always say as a kid growing up, work for the best, hope for the best, pray for the best, but be prepared for the worst.
Right.
And that is one of the kind of, life mantra I have also maintained. So as a founder, I always think about it. I've seen people struggling because they underestimated the burn required.
Right.
They didn't plan the cash flow mismatch, which is a very acute problem. Thankfully, reducing a bit by bit, because people used to think about annual numbers.
Right.
And when you think about spreading it, and you're a founder, you will know this.
Excellent.
There's a difference between knowing on Excel I've earned a revenue versus actually getting that money in your bank account.
Correct.
So budget for how much needs to be raised, way more than what you anticipated. Think about the super corner case, worst case scenario. Everything in the world has a probability.
Correct.
It can be 0.01% to 99%, but it will never be zero.
Correct.
Right? Second thing, at what point you raise. You need to also think about, while equity is like your family's heirloom, don't just keep on distributing it out for free money. Having said that, also think about the mental piece, which is usually underrated when you're starting up. And you think about, okay, if I just raise 1 million, that will get me to a run rate of XYZ. I can raise another round in 6 months. You're not realizing the time and energy as a founder, you and your core team will have to spend,
Right.
which is at the cost of working on your startup. Everyone has finite hours. If you're spending time on this, you're not spending on your core competency, the business which you're running. So how much to raise? My suggestion usually is raise when you can, not when you want. It is
Sure.
better to be prepared. It's a VUCA world. You don't know how things will unfold. They can be macro market scenarios, competitive scenarios, or some micro factors which may impact your business down the road.
Correct.
Raise when you can, not when you need. Raise with a buffer because you may need more, and your
Right.
next round may also be stalled.
Correct. Absolutely.
And be practical on valuation. Having said that, doesn't mean you should just sell out on a cheap valuation. Be practical, pragmatic on ensuring that what is the right value. Don't always compare to the peak valuation in the sector, in the trajectory. Be practical about it, because last thing you want is getting very high valuation in current round, but next round you're struggling to justify that and
Correct.
doing a down round. In recent times, we have seen a lot of down rounds also happening.
Right.
And I've seen founders at times just staying away from a down round, not realizing that there's way more value that can be created going forward.
Right.
So it's a bit of kind of balancing act, multiple factors at play. But in summary, I've said a couple of points, but if I was to summarize it, raise more than what you originally anticipate.
Correct.
At least raise for a head start at least 10 to 12 months. Because you don't want to complete a round and then again jump into another fundraise.
Absolutely.
It is taxing. And you as a founder, having done 2 raises, thinking about another one, I'm sure will kind of
Absolutely.
align with it, being
Yeah.
in this industry. It is not a 2 weeks or 4 weeks process.
It is.
If someone tells you as an advisor, as a friend, as an investor, I will invest in 2 weeks, then it's too good to be true. It's not true, believe me.
It is not.
So until pen meets paper, until it's done, it's never done. And I've seen deals falling away just before founder thought my check is coming tomorrow morning. So
Yeah.
plan for those things. And the last thing I do also believe for founders, which I have seen them struggling or not appreciating as much, is the legal documentation side of things.
Yes.
Don't underestimate the power of legal clauses. They may sound like alien. Spend that time, energy with your advisors. Get right advisors, legal counsels, to just understand what you're signing on the dotted paper.
Absolutely.
Don't just sign because you've been told this is market standard. It may be market standard, but you need to know that. You take a personal and professional ownership and stand by those terms. So I don't know if that answers your question entirely, but I just thought I'll share my kind of piece,
No,
my
you're-
thought process.
You're absolutely right, because of the duration and things. What I've also realized, and for me, it's only just 2 rounds. For you, you would have seen n number of companies with multiple rounds.
Fortunately, yes.
Yeah. But what I've realized, even when the pen meets the paper or the term sheet is signed and the money hits the bank account, also is around half a year away because of the due diligence and
Bang
everything.
on, exactly. And people don't realize that.
Yeah,
Gone are the days when on the drop of hat, you have a great idea, here I have a 5 million check.
exactly.
Those used to exist. I'm not saying that was not a reality, but that reality and the underlying circumstances have taken a 360-degree turn.
Absolutely.
Today, as a founder, if you say you're Vaibhav, you're
Yeah.
expected, and rightly so, required to prove why and prove that you're Vaibhav.
Exactly.
That's the starting point. Unfortunately, investors have also burned their fingers.
Yeah.
So yeah, but bang on what you said. Exactly right. And don't underestimate the process timelines.
Exactly.
It does take time.
And one advice which I would give founders if they're listening to us right now is the fact that even when you're running your show, what we do, at least at Inka, is every transaction we monitor, how would it impact the further rounds due diligence? Because after going through a few, I've realized what paperwork are super critical to keep as a trail prepared, because otherwise you will end up wasting a lot of time later.
No, that is a great point. And usually, I'm so glad hearing from you, who is still a kind of, a new age or a young startup, so to say.
Yeah.
I'm so glad because I always say this, and I'm a CA,
Yeah.
while I'm a banker, investment banker by DNA, I am a chartered accountant and an accountant by the core domain
Absolutely.
expertise. I always say finance and legal are stepchilds in a startup.
Yeah.
You always think as a founder as being they're your enemy. But you need to understand that initial rounds may not require as much focus. If you start working on, it's a core. You need to
Exactly.
strengthen that core. It will be integral part and play an integral key role for your future fundraisers. So a very valid point. You should think about it as a step up happening. At every round, you should say, okay, I did this last time. These were additional things. How can I improvise it? I've seen certain startups be super diligent, super disciplined, where they had a very organized due diligence room, data room,
Absolutely.
which helped them also to know what kind of documents we are signing, what agreements. And I've seen exact opposite where people didn't even know, okay, what kind of guarantees that may have been given.
Wow.
And then as a part of diligence questionnaire, people are scotching for that data,
Yeah.
which can take anywhere from days to weeks. And you basically in principle don't even know there's a low probability. As I said, there is a probability to everything.
Absolutely.
If things were going to go southwards,
Yeah.
lot of things can go wrong. So I agree with you. It's a learning step. It's always a learning curve, and you need to keep stepping up.
Maybe it's Marwadi connection. Maybe being an insurance person, always that 0.1% is what I care about. But at this early stage, also for last 1 year, we're working very closely with BDO and those kind of people helping us with our internal audits and making sure the documentation is clear.
That is a great step, and that is always appreciated. So, a lot of investments I've seen where one's Series C, Series D is done.
Yeah.
A prerequisite or not even a CP, it may be a CS, conditions precedent and conditions subsequent for a round.
Yeah.
To have a big 4 or a big 7 or a reputed auditor
Right.
to be appointed as a stat auditor, as an internal auditor, get a full-fledged operating in-house finance team once you've reached
Correct.
scale. So what you're doing is an amazing thing, and I think speaks about how you've been running the business, which is very good to know. It adds a lot of credibility from an investor standpoint, I can say, based
Absolutely.
on my
That's what we're
experience.
trying to make sure.
It tells you that basic hygiene checks are done.
Exactly.
Again, no one can go and 100% verify it, and there are a lot of other factors.
Correct.
But it's basically ticking the boxes for all the hygiene checks, all the right reasons for sure.
Absolutely. Moving away from that to about your journey, and that's another thing which a lot of founders are interested in knowing, from Morgan Stanley to HDFC and then to your own practice and things like that. How was it, first of all, splitting into two parts? First part, MS to HDFC, and second part is being from 100% salaried to making something of your own. How do people and when do people quit their jobs?
A very interesting question. A question I used to question myself for longest period of time when I started. And I'll actually add a little background to it also. I actually come from Jodhpur, as you thanks for in sharing my intro.
Yeah.
But I come from a very typical middle class family, and born and brought up in a tier 4 city as a Marwadi girl. To think about making a career out there is also in itself a fairly challenging task.
Right.
I've been now working my professional journeys for 20 years. Coming to Morgan Stanley was a different world. I actually, and this is something which I would like to share because a lot of people don't appreciate as much about the back office or the mid office operations. I started my career within Morgan Stanley as part of the investment banking mid office, and then I transitioned to the front face investment banking. Spent around a decade. Great job. Tier 1 bank, amazing experience. That's like my alma mater, had great fun.
Okay.
And that's where probably I found my first love to banking, which is what I'm continuing to do.
Right.
Moving out from banking was something which, when you do something for a long period of time, you start questioning, do I know anything else?
Correct.
It was that inkling which kind of, was always in my head. I want to do something else. It's been 10 years.
Right.
I know I'm good at it, but is this what I want to do for my rest of the life, or I want to explore something else? When I was in the midst of that, and as a banker, investment banking has been obviously bad-mouthed or presented in different perspective thanks to a lot of Hollywood and Bollywood movies
Right.
and Wall Street's, newspapers, articles, everything, work-life balance, a lot of things being spoken about, salary levels. You're on a treadmill. You really don't get time to think about what next.
Correct.
You may want to do it, but you don't have time to action it.
Correct.
Amidst that, I actually got, in some conversations and was lucky to, have that interactions where I got an inbound from HDFC Life. In some conversation, it came up, are you keen? And I have historically always been a person that says never say never. Because I don't want to have a regret later in my life to say I had an opportunity in my door, knocking on the door. If I would have pursued it, things may have been different or may have been same.
Yeah.
But if I don't pursue it, I will never know which side it will end up to. And over a conversation, we just had a couple of fun chats, and I had an offer from HDFC Life. I genuinely didn't know if I will even succeed there, if I'll survive, will I sink or swim? I didn't know. The trigger for me was that I have an offer on the table, an option to try something else, which I have been wanting to do. If I don't try it, I'll continue to do what I'm doing. I love banking. I'm not to brag, but I do believe I'm good at it. I knew I will do well in it. But if I don't try it, I don't want to have a regret that this could have taken me elsewhere 10 years down the line.
Sure.
Having said that, I also knew I had a safety net. So when to think about a career change is a very interesting question. And I'll kind of, expand on it before going back to conclude it. When I moved to HDFC Life, it was a huge, vast change. We're talking about an advisory firm, foreign firm, an operating firm, Indian firm. There are too many cultural, operating, functional differences. You deal with CXO clan when you're at a consultancy firm and a tier 1 bank like investment bank. In HDFC Life or in any operating company, you should be working with people, rightly so.
Correct.
And for first few months, I would think about it. Did I make the right decision? Bigger question also becomes, as a banker, your pay scale is different level.
Yes.
However, what I realized that above a certain threshold, how much money is good or how much is enough is a never answered question. You have to decide what is your threshold, a hygiene factor. Beyond that, in my mind, it's an SMS at the end of the month giving you that momentary joy. Do you spend everything? Well, there may be people who do it. I, coming from middle class, was not a person who was spending my entire salary in first week. So for me, it was okay, that momentary joy of a SMS. But how much is enough is a question I used to ask myself. And with that, I said, okay, let me try something else. If I don't survive, if I don't succeed, I do know that there is a kind of safety net. I had that confidence. So moving from banking to Morgan Stanley investment banking to HDFC Life was a very interesting journey. Huge inertia, like a typical human psychology, that if you're comfortable, why do you change? There's a resistance to change, and which is what I was going through. I had an amazing, great time at Morgan Stanley, grew up the curve from analyst to associate to VP. I was there when I quit. And when I came to HDFC Life, was I kicking myself for first few weeks, months? Hand on heart, yes.
Yeah.
Having said that, it also made me realize that there is so much more one can do. And that's what grew on me over a period of time. As you know, I spent around 4 years at HDFC Life, had great time, again, my second home, so to say, and worked on multiple transactions with great people, amazing experience. So what I realized is a couple of things. When you're moving from a consultancy to an operating role, you need to consider a few facts. One, are you adding value to the organization you're going to?
Wow.
Two, an organization is not just a CXO. See beyond them. When you go to an operating company, you have to work with a lot of people. You need to make your own connects, relationships. And that is extremely important. So do they see value in you? Are they seeing value in what you're getting on the table? I was lucky at the time when I joined. People were very keen across the hierarchy, as you know, for an IPO, and they saw that value add in me, and hence the receptibility, and obviously amazing people, great work culture, which only helped the settling in for me.
Yeah.
But are they adding value? Are you adding value? What level are you joining? As an advisor, no offense, but you are working as an outsider. You're jack of all trades. You don't know the business as well as the insurance folks inside the company.
Correct.
You can't just go there and say, because I read it in a XYZ report or a transaction, that this is the way to be done. You need to learn ground up. You need to appreciate people who are running the business way know more about the business than you being an outsider.
Right.
If you're too senior in the system, that ability to learn while making mistakes, because to err is human. You will make mistake. If you think you'll not make mistake, either you are God's gift to mankind or you're
Which
just
is not
fooling
the
yourself.
factual. Yeah.
You're just fooling yourself.
Yeah.
So don't go at a super senior level is what my experience and my recommendation when people ask me this question. Plus, not to forget, your pay scale becomes so huge that that gap in your own mind of the cut you've taken will pinch you every day. Now, that combined with the inertia of a change, you will find it difficult to settle. So, my recommendation when moving from a consultancy to an operating role is usually do it at a mid-level of your career, because that time you're more open-minded, you're more adaptable. If you are really senior, you have your own, for lack of better words, ego, right? As an individual and the resistance to change. You have your own views of doing the way things are. What is right, what is wrong. In reality, it's all perspective, not right or wrong. So that's the way I think about the transition from MS to HDFC Life. From HDFC Life, when the IPO happened, again, great company, great time, superb role. What I was thinking was, okay, I did sell side, investment banking, I did corporate. What next do I want to do? Am I adding value to situations, to myself? And again, I thought it's a great place to be. But after a few years, probably, I do want to explore and test myself. It was much easier decision because now I knew I have two safety nets, not one. And hence, I just said, let's take some time off. Let's think about going back to drawing board and say, what else do I want to do? Right. So a long answer to your question. But yeah, I think you need to be comfortable when making a change. You need to appreciate the change which will come in the form of your take home. What are your obligations? It's easy to say money can't buy everything, but the brutal reality is money can buy many things. And it's easier to say this once you have that back end settled. So it is a hygiene factor. It is a SMS, but after a certain threshold. Fair. Think about those things. Don't underestimate the kind of, these constraints which can come if you're really going from 100 to 0. Correct. Do a step down arrangement, if at all, without compromising your happiness. Yes. Most important is, are you enjoying what you're doing? And that should be the key mantra, followed by all the other factors. That's the way I look at it. And that's what I have followed in my life.
So what you're enjoying, what you're doing is actually the most important for me. So last night I was sitting with someone and he asked me that what came to you that you quit a decently paying, if not a well-paying insurance job to start your own. And I had to tell him that it was about making sure that I was working with people I enjoyed working with. So as a founder, that's the luxury I have. I don't have salaries. I don't have the SMSs. I had forgotten now that you say. Yes, there used to be a concept of SMS coming in. Yeah. I've forgotten all that. But the best luxury as a founder is I know whom I want to work with, and I can then work with him and set a culture of what is the right culture to work at.
Fully agree. I think that joy and being yourself is
Absolutely.
The most important thing.
Absolutely.
I mean, ironically, so Psychology of Money, the bottom book which you have.
Yeah.
My favorite quote from this, which I have quoted umpteen number of times, is in chapter 7.
Sure.
It says, the best dividend of money is what you want to do, when you want to do, with whom you want to do, for how long you want to do. That's the best dividend of money.
Absolutely.
And which again translates into, we can put it in our life either ways. I know it may sound like a very heavy dose podcast for you.
No, but more relevant.
It is more just, I'm just speaking my mind out. But I mean, I genuinely agree with you totally. I think the freedom to work with people, and ultimately the joy is to work with people and on things where you really enjoy.
Absolutely.
Now, definition of enjoyment can be different for individuals, but how you are happy, that is what the bottom line is. It's my view.
Absolutely. Now, for me, insurance, for a lot of people, it's a very mundane, boring topic. But for me, I find it super exciting, energetic, because of multiple reasons, not getting into them. But for you, what is the first thought that comes to your mind when you think of insurance and things like that?
So, I mean, again, was I very well exposed to how insured I should be in my early age of the career? Unfortunately, no.
Right.
If I was given a chance to go back in time, there are a few things I would have changed. You're right. My introduction to insurance was when I joined HDFC. Then I started understanding the relevance of the product. way more. Again, as I said, as a banker, I was jack of all trade, but
Yeah.
king of none. Insurance gave me, my HDFC Life stint gave me the opportunity to deep dive and understand. And for me, insurance is that comfort cushion, that peace of mind at the night, that if something was to happen tomorrow, and it is a VUCA world, no one wants to believe they are going to die, but the reality is we are all going to die. So having that backbone, having that peaceful sleep at night is what
Correct.
insurance is. Now, this can be in form of a life insurance, which, believe me, and you're from Jodhpur,
Yeah.
I am sure we both can share enough anecdotes to say that how people don't want to talk about insurance.
Yes.
How I've been told, why do I need health insurance? मतलब, I have money in my bank account, में insurance का पैसा का wait थोड़ी करूँगा कि कुछ हो जाएगा तो. And I always wonder, how to explain it to them. Oh, parents के insurance तो हमने बंद करा दिया because ऐसे premium waste हो रहा था. And the fact is, okay, how do I even question it? Having said that, I have actually pushed my close family and friends to buy some of the critical insurance, which I strongly believe in. So insurance for me is that peaceful sleep at night.
Yeah.
It is a peace in mind that something was to go wrong. It's not going to be disrupting my entire life.
Right.
I don't have to dip in my savings if there was a health insurance episode, God forbid. Or, will just change my world upside down. It is that peace in mind at the end of the day.
In fact, you've been to Kailash Mansarovar, and I remember you were once mentioning 72 of you went, but only 2 out of those 72 were insured.
That's so true. And, when there's a tour guide you need to do. I just recently did this trip last month, fortunate that I could manage to go to such a place, really peaceful. The only question I had asked the tour operator, because you have to go through a group tour,
Correct,
was how about an insurance? And he laughed at me. And he said, and this is something I had asked 2 months before my trip. And he said, ki, you can go and check. Koi insurance dega hi nahi is jagah ki, is the verbatim he mentioned.
Yeah.
And I said, but Kailash Mansarovar ke paas ki nahi dega. They'll give me for China, for Tibet, for Nepal. End of the day, I'm outside my home country.
Correct.
And I said, Bhagwan ka naam leke ja rahe ho, kya kharab hoga? That's the answer I got from him. Believe me, I'm quoting verbatim. There were 2 of us who traveled together in this group of 72. There were only 2 people who had insurance in the entire group. And we did had some really close to the wire situations with a couple of people on the health side. And families of those or friends of those were like, let's rush them to hospital. And I was wondering in my heart, you don't even know what it will cost.
Exactly.
Obviously, money is not important. Human life is more important. Way more, not even comparable. But as I said, money can't buy everything. Money can buy many things. It is important. But no one else thought about it, even bothered to check. You may not get it for the expedition.
Correct.
But you will still get it for being outside, right? In Nepal, in China, in Tibet. I was actually lucky when the Nepal disruption happened.
Correct.
The day it started was the day we left from Kathmandu.
Oh,
and
perfect.
We came back just 2 days after the Nepal's things settled back in. And we could see the city really turned upside down. One of the 5-star hotels was burned down where we were supposed to put up. So you could see, if I would have been leaving the city country a day later, we would have been in midst of that. Now imagine 70 people with no insurance. So it is underrated product. People just don't understand overseas travel insurance, health insurance. If you're going at a high altitude, ability to get airlifted, those things become important. Again, no one hopes for them, wishes for them, but reality is shit happens. Sorry, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's also, it's minimalistic from a cost perspective. It's 0.1, 0.2% of the overall.
Nothing. It is basically less than what you would spend on a dinner at a good restaurant.
And for someone like you and a lot of listeners of ours and viewers of ours, because we are both on Spotify and YouTube, would be frequently traveling. So we generally recommend global covers which are throughout available. So
that's exactly what I do.
Yeah.
So when I had to take my insurance, I looked at my existing policy because I travel a lot.
Right.
I am very fond of traveling. Work is one part, but even for personal, I just like to travel in different countries. And exactly what you said I do. I take a full year travel insurance, international travel insurance for entire world. So not excluding any geography.
Yeah.
And obviously for a stays up to 30 days, kind of typical travel insurance. It doesn't cost much. For my age and, my track, I can get it in 4,000, 5,000 at max.
Absolutely.
And which is a great price point. You spend way more than that for a dinner, as I said.
Yes.
So I fully agree. If you're a traveler, if you travel actively, you might as well take a long-term insurance. If you're one-off traveler, it will actually be a few $100 or a tax $1,000.
Exactly.
Can't beat that. So I agree with you. I mean, in my mind, I've had those debates with my family traveling to Sri Lanka, and I said, please take a travel insurance.
Yeah.
And like, yahan ke liye kyun chahiye? I'm like, do you even see the price?
Yeah.
It was costing some $480, I remember.
Exactly.
And like, I can pay for you if you're saving money.
Yeah.
Like, no, if you're saying you will buy. So with family, you can use that. But
yeah.
I do wish these podcasts help people understand the importance of insurance. Very, very good.
Yeah. Most of the insurance plans actually are cheaper than a movie ticket at PVR.
Totally.
So I say, you can skip a movie or maybe enjoy the movie, but skip the popcorn and buy an insurance.
Forget movie ticket, a Starbucks coffee
Absolutely.
at airport.
Yeah, absolutely. Go to the lounge instead of Starbucks and buy yourself
insurance.
Exactly.
Do yourself a favor, why not?
Absolutely.
But those are the harsh reality of life, I guess. To each its own, as I say.
To each its own, yeah.
But strongly recommended. I fully agree. Whichever company, whatever plan, whatever coverage you're comfortable with, but have that comfort and peace of mind for yourself and your family.
When you're sleeping, sleep peacefully.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I said insurance for me is that peaceful sleep nights.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for coming. And I think just didn't realize how time flew. But thank you. Hope to see you again. Because I'm sure a lot of comments would come with a lot of questions from founders and multiple others. But hope to see you again.
Thank you so much. I love to be here. I don't know if this was too heavy duty, but I was just speaking my mind out, and I hope it's useful for few, if not all. But thanks a lot. You're doing great at Inka in terms of creating awareness for insurance, and that is very much needed in our country. So thank you for having me, and good luck for that.
Done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.